Hello, founders. Welcome back. We are back for segment 3. Pamela's still with us. She's a trooper. She's given a lot of time and energy to this episode today, and so thank you, Pamela, because I know this is it's a stressful subject for a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of founders going through debt concerns right now and how to service all of this. And if they aren't now, they might be trying to figure out how do we start managing this if the lockdowns come back and. Right. So just lots of uncertainty now. So thanks for making the time to be here.
No problem.
Okay. So segment 3 is exploring our options now. If we feel like managing the debt that we have now, if we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, outside of trying to renegotiate the interest and renegotiate those payments, if it's just too much. And I don't know if you can answer what is too much. How does someone know when to actually explore these options? But I guess what are the options and what does it look like? How would they actually start to proceed with exploring those options?
Well, the key is talking to someone as soon as there's no exact time. So it's when you feel you aren't going to be able to make your major payments in a month. It could be you're already behind. It's really up to that person. And it is one of the most difficult calls you will make because it feels like you're going to quit. Because you think it's going to be the end. Please do not think that. Please ask for help and please ask the right people for help. There is a lot of people out there who think they know, who maybe went through it. It's a very different process, depending on the business you have, the type of debt you have, the type of personal guarantees you have, and it is very different by province. So making sure you're speaking with someone who is within your province that understands your type of businesses, and we have offices across Canada, so no matter where you are, we can help, and we want to help people through these times. There's a lot of options available.
I think sorry, Pamela, sorry to cut you off. I think too, to your point, is that it's never too early, right, to reach out. So even in that managing debt stage, you said the calls to MNP at least are complimentary, and so never too early.
That's right, because if we are going to go through this process with you, and as we are regulated by the federal government, we have to provide all options, just not what us as licensed trustees can do. We have to provide you with all the options that we see. So we can't just say liquidate because we can do that. Well, actually, have you considered this, doing this, then that, and then see how it goes.
Okay.
And giving them all those options outside of the ones that we have to execute. But if we say anything else, we're going to connect you with people we've worked with in the past that have helped other companies or anything like that. We're going to get you everything. We ultimately want us to be the very, very last option. We want to know we've exhausted everything else, and this is what we actually have to do going forward.
So what are the options? Like what would be the least traumatic of all the options as you start to kind of go through the list now? Where would people start?
Well, a lot of the time, so where we have success is a lot of people right now are running into cash flow issues. So we have what are called proposals. There's kind of lots of legal stuff around it, but proposals are options where we can say, okay, all the accounts payable on the unsecured side. So we can't interfere with your secured creditors. So we need to understand those, and we have to understand our Canada Revenue Agency debt as well, because they have certain rules as well. So that's something we would talk about mutually. But if we feel we can handle the secured debt and or liquidate some of those assets to reduce payments and develop strategies and stuff with that, look at our CRA debt, making sure we can comply with what we need to there. But with the unsecured debt, what we have is these proposals that say, okay, everyone back off for 6 months, a year. I've done all kinds of things on a corporate side, on a personal side, back off till I finish my divorce, back off till we do a settlement, back off till I sell my business, and then I'll pay, then there's a payment. So we can do settlements where you get what's called a stay of proceedings. So it's kind of a bubble. So in that bubble, the legal action is stopped, the interest is frozen, and allows you to do what you already say you're going to do, whether it's operate, to sell, to do this, just to build up some cash flow to allow you to do your settlement, but it freezes all the debt, which is ideal. And so you can do settlements where it's say, okay, everyone will get 20 cents on the dollar of the unsecured. We can do 50 cents. I've done it where people pay 100 cents back, but they just need a little bit of time and the interest and the collection activity to stop so that he can operate.
Can I ask what is the cost of that? Not the physical cost, but how does that impact the credit score then? Is that recognized as a judgment on our credit bureau, and does it actually impact the score, the beacon?
Yeah, it would absolutely affect your credit score. It will show up, proposals are R7s, bankruptcies are R9s. But if you've obtained a judgment and someone has sued you, it's no different. So your credit score's already been damaged if someone's got a judgment against you anyways. So here there's just no end with a judgment because they can just keep attacking.
Okay.
With a proposal, they'll get the R7, but the creditors can't continue to attack you. You get
just to be clear, we don't need to wait for the judgment or the suit to be filed for us to take action on a consumer proposal. We can be proactive, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and that's, I would say, because once you get issued a statement of claim, that's the start of someone suing you. You have, depending where you are, 20 to 30 days before anything legal happens. That 100% is a time to be talking to somebody. But if that's already happened, we can still stop it once it's already happened as well.
Okay.
Getting in before is ideal.
Okay. So consumer proposal, option number 1. Right.
Yes.
And again, it may be, right? This is all hypothetical and we're just kind of running through some scenarios. Everybody's situation is very different.
Absolutely. Yes.
So consumer proposal, what would another option look like?
The other options is, so proposals, we can just simply put them on hold to operate or put them on hold to help you liquidate. And because you won't, if you liquidate, you're not going to have enough money to pay everybody. That's okay. A proposal can take care of that because we pay on a pro rata basis. So you don't have to worry about deciding who to pay. Legally, we can take care of all of that for you. So sometimes that's advantageous. And just depending how dire the straits are, the bankruptcy is the other option. So if it's a bankruptcy for a corporation, that won't affect your personal credit rating.
It's a bankruptcy for an incorporation. Can you just clarify the difference between an insolvency and a bankruptcy?
Sure. Insolvency is just the process of what I do, like the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act. Gotcha. So it's unable to pay your debts as they become due is the legal definition of it. To be honest, most people are insolvent. If you don't pay off your credit card in full and all your other debt every month, you're probably insolvent, right? But that doesn't mean anything. But bankruptcy is an actual legal
act.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you do have to be insolvent to be bankrupt, but to be insolvent doesn't mean you are bankrupt.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Inability to pay down that. Yes. That's a scary idea to think about how many people are actually insolvent right now. Right?
Most people are. And like I said, it's not something to panic or hit the button on. Most people just carry some debt and that's perfect.
But you bring up a good point, which is having gone down this road before, I feel that COVID right now really is a catalyst. It didn't cause the financial vulnerability; it just exposed it. And this is the time now. We have a decision, we have a choice to make as to whether or not we choose to learn from this and do things differently, right? But it's human nature. It's the way our brain is wired, unfortunately, that we don't do what needs to be done until our back is against the wall. And the only way forward is to actually move through this dirt and uncomfortableness and, the anxiety of it all. So, okay, so those are 2 options. And maybe, so the 2 options, just to clarify again, we've got the consumer proposal and we have the bankruptcy for the business. Maybe depending again on those personal guarantees and how many assets, what your assets look like in your personal life, might be taking
a lot of the time Yeah, so a lot of the time with corporations, we're like, okay, well, there's really nothing here. Once the secured creditors take all their assets, there's really nothing left there.
Right.
Now the creditors are going to take and enforce their personal guarantees and jump over to the director or whoever provided that personal guarantee.
Okay.
That is where we see a lot of the bankruptcies come from.
Okay.
So again, bankruptcy provincially can be very, very different. In Saskatchewan, you're allowed equity in your home up to $50,000 per person. You're allowed a personal vehicle of $10,000 free and clear per person. Your RRSPs are exempt. Life insurance policies, there's some rules.
Okay.
RSPs, if you've done major contributions in the last year, they get looked at, but we review all that with you before you do anything.
You're not getting wiped out, right?
No.
No. So I know a lot of people with this fear again, it's the unknown. And so a lot of people are so stuck right now thinking about the future and this worst case. The worst case really is the bankruptcy, right? If you have your health, you can still do something, right? But a lot of people are seeing the worst case, not thinking about the health, and then not really understanding what it means. And so I love that you've just brought this up, that, you get to maintain a portion of the equity in your home. You get to maintain the vehicle. You get to maintain a piece of these RSPs. So think through that, because hopefully that will help to dissipate some of the angst and stress that you're carrying with the debt that you have.
Lots of people just don't want to make the call because I don't want to lose everything.
Yes.
Hey, let's go through it all, though. This call means nothing. Like, it doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It doesn't mean anything. It just means you and tell me your assets, tell me what's associated with it, and then I'll tell you exactly how it's going to fit. You are going to know exactly how it's going to affect every asset, everything before you do anything with us. So don't worry about any surprises. I don't want surprises. I don't want to call and tell you about surprises. And people don't want to be told about a surprise after they've already signed, because there really is no button. Once you hit that button, you can't say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. It's very difficult to undo, if not for a very significant reason. So we do want to ensure people are aware of that before anything goes forward.
And before we wrap, can you explain what's happening in this world of receivership? Because I know we're looking at what options do we have. A lot of people might be hearing this word receivership out there, and maybe just clarifying that for founders that are listening in.
Absolutely. So a receiver, you'll probably see a lot more of it. There's a lot more of them happening right now. But receiverships are driven by the lender. So this is typically where the lender is calling your operating line, or they called on your major loan that you have, and they said, okay, unfortunately, we can't carry on our relationship. We're enforcing our security, where it takes a majority of that company's assets back. So that's where the lenders would reach out to us as trustees and say, okay, well, you go in as a receivership for this business. Okay. Receiverships are lender driven, but they're very similar. Like we can simply just go in to liquidate the company, or we can go in to operate to sell it. So obviously selling a business that's operating or had going concern is better than one not operating. Yeah. But that's something once we go in, and usually the owners are engaged to help. Who knows that business better than them? So a lot of this stuff is getting initiated by no one's fault, except you can't operate a business if you have no cash flow coming in right now.
I imagine that's probably a big flag right now for many businesses through the pandemic, right? Like you mentioned at the beginning, cash flow is a big issue for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, so it's not ever easy to work with people, but this is adding a whole other twist for us as trustees as well. These, you can usually pick out kind of where maybe things went a little off track, and sometimes it's unknown until hindsight, right? But this one is like, it doesn't matter what they do. If you have no cash, you can't do. And so they're working with the lenders and doing. But at some point, the lender knows they have to do something too. So don't be afraid to have those conversations with the bank. If they're calling and talking about that, engage your counsel or call a trustee if you're getting these letters, so that we can get you in contact with counsel who is familiar with this type of work, because that is key, making sure you're speaking to the right people. There's a lot of business lawyers aren't always as familiar with the insolvency law as an insolvency lawyer. So making sure you're engaging the right people is key. Again, reaching out to a trustee. We are not lawyers for sure, but we definitely have those relationships with the lawyers that can assist you through this, because this is nothing you've been through before. So we want to make sure you have the right people in your corner.
And yeah, exactly. I think you just nailed it there. The right people in your corner, right? Like an advocate. It sounds like you would be an advocate for the founder coming in. You've got someone on your sides, not that we're taking sides, but you're not alone. And I think that's a big thing for founders, is that, you know, growing a business, let alone having to deal with the debt piece now, you do feel quite isolated, right? Especially if you don't have partners. So it's so important to reach out, to Pamela's point, and don't leave it to the end. Like, reach out now. Pamela's information is down below. Reach out to her if she's not the one for you because of the territory or the province that you're calling from. She'll find somebody to connect you with. And Pamela, thank you for putting, you know, a voice to all of this. Thank you for lending your face and your expertise to this subject, because you're right. I think a lot of people are really quite intimidated. And now that they can hear you and see you and kind of piece all of this together, makes it a lot easier. I hope it makes it a lot easier to make the call. I know it would for me, knowing that there's a soft spot to land on the other side of all of this. So thank you. You've given us a lot to think about, a lot to digest. Thank you, founders, for watching, for listening, however you're absorbing this content. Thank you again to our episode champion, Community Futures. Thank you for all that you do and the support that you're giving our founders through this crazy. I know I don't want to say unprecedented, because I know that's one of the least favorite words now. Everybody's tired of that word. But thank you for being there. I feel really like you guys are our first responders, right? You are the triage to founders that are trying to, you know, pump life back into their business. So there's a full circle moment from our talking about our EMS at the beginning now to our end. So thank you again. Please don't forget to download the tools. They're free, of charge to you. Pamela, thank you for being here. And founders, as always, please stay strong out there, stay safe, and stay financially fierce. All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.